Welcome back. You're listening to Get Real, and I'm your host, Bob Gallagher. I'm joined in the studio today by Craig Foley, Lair Realty Partners Chief Sustainability Officer. Welcome to the show, Craig.
Thanks very much, Bob. Appreciate it.
So we asked you to come in and talk a little bit about high performance and green building. Where is the green market going, and what does it include in Massachusetts?
Yeah, there's a lot to it, actually, in Massachusetts. I mean, you know, even starting with just existing homes, right, which is kind of the elephant in the room when we talk about the energy and environmental challenges that are in front of us.
Right.
There are a lot of homes out there. There are a lot of buildings out there. And they eat up about 39% of total U.S. energy consumption in the United States. You know,
wow.
Yeah, it's huge. So when we think about the energy problems that are out there, a lot of people go immediately to the transportation sector.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I was thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
Only 29% of U.S. energy consumption is in the transportation sector. And the buildings that we live and work in, 39% of U.S. energy consumption.
I had no idea it was that.
Yeah.
Never even thought about it. I always thought just transportation. When you talk about fuel, transportation is all that comes to mind, really.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, absolutely. I mean, and that's where, you know, you're not uncommon. I mean, that's what most people think. So it's a big deal. It's a big part of the problem.
Right.
But as the real estate industry is discovering, you know, I do a lot of work with NAR, National Association of Realtors, on this topic, that we have a huge opportunity to be part of a solution.
Right.
You know. And, you know, even in the existing homes, as I said, we have the Mass Save program, for instance, in Massachusetts, right, where you get an energy assessment. It's no cost in this state, which is really unusual compared to other states. And, you know, they come in and do air sealing, insulation work. Maybe you have some opportunities to upgrade some systems, put in these new ductless mini splits, air source heat pump systems. Maybe solar PV is an opportunity for existing home, right? And we now have 90,000 homes in the state with solar PV. That all got triggered by Green Communities Act being passed in 2008.
Right.
And they're increasing at a rate of about 1,000 to 1,500 a month, according to Massachusetts Clean Energy Center.
And that's just in Mass.
That's just in Mass.
Wow.
I mean, it's evolving so quickly. I mean, you ride down the street now and you see homes with solar PV panels on them all the time, right? So all of that is part of this green marketplace, you know, and they all need to be valued appropriately because there's cost savings for lower operating costs on these homes.
Right.
The other piece of this is that we have some of the best builders and architects in the world right here in Massachusetts that are really pushing the envelope on building new construction projects, massive multifamily, single-family, commercial products that are really at the leading edge of, you know, the green marketplace. I tend to call it, from a marketing perspective, the high-performance building, high-performance home marketplace.
Right.
And, you know, I'm really lucky that I know a lot of these builders, and they ask me to list these properties, put them on the market, because there's a different valuation process, and I know that valuation process, and they need help on that level. And also because I know the building science, to some, solid level. I have an understanding of the science of how these things are built that I can help a potential buyer understand the value just in terms of the durability of the construction and how well built it is, as well as the operating costs and the lower environmental impact. They're significantly more healthier to live in than the average standard home. The indoor air quality is significantly higher in these buildings as well.
Excellent. Now, can you kind of elaborate a little bit on what high performance or green building is?
Absolutely. So, in the at the leading edge of this stuff, at the cutting edge of the technology, when you're building from scratch right now, you're really looking at a super insulated, airtight building. Right. So let's talk about what that means. Generally speaking, when you're trying to get to a net zero energy home, right? A home that's producing as much or more energy than it's using on an annual basis. So when we talk about that 39% of U.S. energy consumption, we now have the technology in place to get homes that are producing zero or even giving back green power to the grid because they're producing more energy than they're using on an annual basis.
So you're attacking it from both sides, basically.
Exactly right. Gotcha. And the super insulated building is part of it, though. So we're looking at our values, insulation values below the slab of R10 or higher, at the below grade walls, the basement walls of R15 or higher, the above grade walls at R40 or higher, And in the top of the building envelope at R60 or higher. So 10, 20, 40, 60 is what the best of the building science guys are doing right now to get these super insulated buildings. And they have to be airtight. Now, I know a lot of realtors freak out about, we've got to have homes that breathe. And I got to tell you, that is a load of BS, Bob.
Well, they have air exchangers, don't they?
Yeah, exactly right. We have something, the homes have something called an energy recovery ventilation system that you have to put into these super insulated buildings. But I think that the thing that most realtors, the public, don't understand when you talk about a home that breathes and how important that is, and it's important because that's the way you keep out mold. But what most people don't understand is through something called stack effect, what you're breathing is all of the nastiness that's down in your basement that's coming up through the house.
Right.
So you get these super insulated buildings, these airtight buildings with these energy recovery ventilation systems that are bringing in fresh air on a constant level. And you get much more superior indoor air quality. And that's we're seeing that has positive health effects for families moving into these homes. There was a study recently by Chan School of Public Health at Harvard that showed higher cognitive functionality in these types of buildings as well. So really cool stuff going on in this building science world.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's not, what you're saying is it's not just single family development either. They're doing it in multis.
Multifamilies, absolutely. Commercial, absolutely. Yeah.
So there must be a big payoff on this stuff if builders are willing to put it into what are going to end up being rentals.
Yeah. Well, I would argue that's where you need a realtor that's a specialist, right? So these builders are specialists as well. If you're thinking about building a new home, Bob, and you say, I want a green builder, how do you find them? Because they're few and far between. You got to really do some search for them.
Well, I think it's even worse than that. There's a lot of people that build themselves that way, but
exactly right. That's a big part of there's no question that's a huge part of the problem. Because anybody can say it.
Yeah.
Same thing with realtors. Builders that are looking for realtors to convey the value, they have to be specialists as well. And as we've talked about earlier, there are appraisers that know how to value these homes as well and build these high performance buildings specifically. They've gone through the Appraisal Institute's 3-course set to make them a valuation of sustainable buildings pro. Both residential and commercial. And we have 10 residential appraisers in the state and 5 commercial appraisers in the state that fit into that category. That's a growing part of the appraisal community as well. And they need specific information in order to make their case to the underwriter about the specific value of these projects as well.
And can you, without digging too deep, can you kind of give us an overview of how they value things? Is it based on the savings long-term of building this way, or is it something else?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I mean, there's a couple different pieces to that. I'll take the easiest piece, the one that's clearest. It's with solar PV, host-owned solar PV.
Right.
Okay? You put solar panels on your home, and you have 2 different opportunities with installers here in the state. One is that they're willing to own the system, right? We call that third-party owned systems. That's about 60% of the solar panels that you see in the state right now. And the other option is the homeowner can buy them outright, right? That's called host-owned solar PV. That's the other 40%. Fannie Mae's guidance is very clear. With third-party owned systems, they consider those personal properties, and you can't add any contributory value for personal property in the appraisal report, right? With a good power purchase agreement, it doesn't mean that the buyer wouldn't see value in entering into the power purchase agreement, but we can't add that value into the appraisal report.
Right.
For the host-owned systems, the 40% that are out there, we use an income approach because that homeowner has installed a power plant on their rooftop, and it's creating income for the homeowner. So where this comes in differently for the average residential appraiser and average listing agent and buyer's agent is we're used to thinking about, comps, right, all the time. Comps, right?
Yeah.
And now with solar PV, what it's allowed us to do is to take an income approach to add on to the comps, right? So let's say that the comps, I show up at a listing and I've pulled a bunch of comps before I go to the listing. and looks like it's worth about $500K. And then I roll up to the property and I see the homeowners put solar PV on their rooftop, and I'm like, oh my God, what do I do now, right? Because they're going to be asking what the value is, right? We have a specific tool for host-owned solar PV that we can use. You can find it at pvvalue.com. It's called the PV Value Tool that can give a very, very specific number on using an income approach with a discount rate that moves forward, which the appraiser needs, to be able to give a very specific value. Let's say it's $25K.
Yeah.
So now you're listing it at $529, at $519, maybe at $500, maybe it depends on what the market is.
Right.
But you've got something specific in there that can be adding to the appraisal report and a real way to communicate to the seller what the value is and how it works. So that income approach is really critical. Now, the other piece of this that I would add is, cost savings is a big part of this. There's no question about it.
Right.
But there are certain certifications, particularly in the greater Boston markets, green certifications like LEED, Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, that have a certain cachet to them because they're really pushing the envelope about what high-performance building and design is all about. And, we can look at that as a price per square foot premium because it has this third-party certification, this very rigorous third-party certification that we can also add to the appraisal report as well.
And how do you, if you're a homeowner that's thinking about doing this, how do you decide between, a host-owned system, which is they buy it, right, or versus a third-party system? How do you decide which way to go?
Well, hopefully your installer is taking you through the options that are out there. Obviously with the third party owned, there's no costs in Massachusetts, right? I mean, it's such a lucrative business for the third party owners to be able to own these systems and take the 30% investment tax credit. The old Massachusetts credit was something called SREC, Solar Renewable Energy Credits, and those were really valuable in the marketplace. They still are. They last for 10 years. But if you've got the cash or you want to take a second, get a mortgage for one of these and own the system, then you as the homeowner get that 30% investment tax credit and the Massachusetts credits that are out there as well. So the payback on these systems is, oftentimes 5, 6, 7 years because the price of solar has dropped so much over the last 10 years as well.
Wow.
So it's kind of a no-brainer. I teach, the green designation for NAR a lot, and obviously this is the hottest topic, talking about solar PV in Massachusetts right now because it's emerging so quickly. But it's a super hot driver in the marketplace right now. It's what people want to talk about, engage with, and it's very specific in terms of how we get the valuation of that.
Right. Have you heard anything about, like, every once in a while I see ads on Facebook for Tesla's new roof shingles that are actually photovoltaic cells?
Yeah.
Is that real or is that just hype right now?
No, I mean, Tesla has produced those. They're active in the market in California. What I've heard from the solar installers that I deal with is let's give it a little bit more time in the Northeast. Partly because terracotta shingles, right? Those beautiful shingles that have kind of an airflow through them.
Yeah.
The feeling is that those are the ones that we want to test. There's a reason why the solar PV panels sit 4 inches off your rooftop because we want airflow flowing between them. They get pretty hot. Right? So the worry could be that if you put them flat on the roof, like asphalt shingles or slate shingles, the worry from some of the installers that I've been dealing with is that, let's test it out, see what that does to the wiring before we go full hog.
Oh, because it's going to get so hot.
Could be, yeah. We just don't know yet.
If it does work, it'd be great. I would think.
Oh, absolutely.
Why would you put any other kind of roof shingle on if you could basically have a house that's self-sufficient?
Yeah. I mean, the cool thing about them, too, if you take a look at the durability tests on Tesla, they're dropping like 2,000-pound weights on these things, and they bounce right off the roof. They're super durable as well.
So it's a great roofing system as well, not just for power.
Yeah. Lifetime warranty Tesla's offering on these things too as well. Yeah.
Wow. So what do you think? 5 more years before we know for sure?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it could be faster than that, see how it rolls out. One of the things though that pops up in classes is some realtor will say to me, "Oh my God, I don't want them on the front of the house because they're so ugly."
Right. Yeah.
Well, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, Bob. So I look at those solar PV panels and I think they're the sexiest thing on the face of the earth, right? So that's me, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I missed the class, I guess, where asphalt shingles suddenly added aesthetic value to a home. So
that's a very good point. Very good point. We're getting low on time here. I know you're having you're going to be listing a property
Yeah.
in Weston, right? Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, really cool project. It's been in the making for 2 years now. It's 346 Highland Street in Weston. 14 rooms, 6 bedrooms, 7.5 baths. We'll be putting it on the market at the end of March for close to $5 million. And it's really the leading edge of taking an original 1897 historic home and really pushing the envelope on bringing it up to date.
Wow.
So it'll be LEED Platinum certified, so the highest certification under leadership in energy and environmental design. It'll be Indoor Air Plus certified through the EPA. It'll be a zero net energy ready home through the U.S. Department of Energy, and an Energy Star rated home as well. The developer is incredible. The builder is incredible. The architect, my God, the architecture of this place, Bob, is just phenomenal. The finish work on it is phenomenal.
Is it more modern feeling, or?
Well, no. It takes the 1897 vernacular of the farmhouse and kind of uses that. And so these high performance homes don't have to all look like contemporary homes. They can look just like traditional housing.
Wow.
So it's a pretty cool project, definitely.
That's awesome. And you said there's going to be an open house on that as well?
So the public, we're going to do a grand opening for the project on April 14th, Sunday, April 14th, from 1 to 4. Public's invited, so anybody can come by and check it out. It's a pretty cool project. It's 346 Highland Street in Weston.
Excellent. And then if anybody's listening right now and has questions on green building and high-performance valuations, or you'd like to talk to Craig about listing or buying, you can reach him by email is the best way to get a hold of you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And it's cfoley@lairrealty.com. Again, that's cfoley@lairrealty.com. Craig, we really appreciate you coming on the show with us today.
Thanks, Bob. I really appreciate you having me.
Great. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back with more Get Real after this.